Good evening and welcome to Northbeat. I'm Robert Holden. We begin tonight in the Yukon. The operator of the Whitehorse Emergency Shelter has responded to a lawsuit filed against it. Connective Support Society is being accused of negligence by the family of a woman who died at the shelter. Gabrielle Plonka reports.
Connective denies responsibility for the death of Josephine Hager in 2023. In a statement of defense filed to the Yukon Supreme Court recently, the shelter operator says her death was not the operator's fault. Hager was a shelter resident when she died of alcohol and morphine toxicity. The lawsuit filed by Hager's family claims Hager passed out in a hallway and staff did not help. But the operator says staff checked on her several times. It says Hager was, quote, aggressive and refused help to her apartment. Shortly after, Connective says another shelter user said Hager wasn't breathing. Staff called 911, but Hager did not survive. The lawsuit says staff met the standard of care expected. It says it was not unusual for Hager to be intoxicated and claims she was often aggressive to staff. Connective is asking for the lawsuit to be dismissed. Gabrielle Plonka, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Ottawa recently announced new funding for Jordan's Principle and the Inuit Child First Initiative. CBC's Carl Cardinal has more now on the key differences between the two programs and what they cover.
First, Jordan's Principle supports First Nation children. It is legally enforced by the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, requiring Ottawa to fund services promptly. Yesterday, Mandy Cole-Mastey, Minister of Indigenous Services, announced that the federal government is committing $1.55 billion to renew Jordan's Principle funding until the end of March next year. Now, the Inuit Child First Initiative is separate. It specifically covers Inuit children and provides similar medical, mental health, and educational support. But it is a policy program, not legally mandated like Jordan's Principle, which means the federal government is not obligated to run it. Earlier this month, Ottawa announced $115 million to extend it until March next year, which is a $7 million reduction from previous funding, and it does not replace the discontinued Hamlet Food Voucher program. In comparison, Jordan's Principle is receiving a boost in funding, more than $500 million worth. Now, some Inuit families are raising questions about the gap in funding between the two programs. While there are fewer Inuit than First Nation children, the cost of providing services in the north is higher. Which brings the question if the funding is enough for northern realities? Carl Cardinal, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Denmark's prime minister has called an early election amid the country's standoff with the United States over Greenland. A general election must be held at least every 4 years, but the prime minister can call one at any time. Recent polls show a bump in popularity for Mette Frederiksen's Social Democrats. She spent the past few months rallying European leaders to stand firm against Trump's remarks to annex Greenland. The election is set for March 24th. In Newfoundland and Labrador, a group that's now excluded from applying for positions reserved for Indigenous students and staff at Memorial University say it's disappointed by the decision. The new policy has caused some controversy. Henrika Wilhelm has reaction from Indigenous organizations.
The reaction to the new policy at Memorial University, it couldn't be at more opposite ends.
My colleagues, the nuncio ministers and you know, they were high-fiving me and embracing me.
It was an extremely, profoundly disappointing day.
The policy, a move away from self-identification towards applicants having to prove their indigeneity. But for one group, this change means they aren't eligible. Southern Labrador group Nunavut describes its members as Inuit, but other Inuit organizations don't accept those claims, and they're not officially recognized under the Constitution either. The two criteria MUN's new policy is based on.
There's not going to be one additional Indigenous person who will benefit from this policy. But there will be thousands, potentially, of Indigenous peoples who will be negatively impacted by it.
That's where the Nunavut government disagrees. It was among the Indigenous organizations and governments supporting the new policy.
Those steps are necessary in order to make right what is being difficult and causing harm or challenges to Labrador Inuit, as an example. And so in those ways, when funding is being sent to those who are pretending to be Indigenous, that is a great harm.
But in the eyes of Nunavut, the new policy is creating harm for their students.
This created a lot of anxious people, a lot of insecurity. People are not feeling safe in the university environment. This is affecting people's health.
The new policy is effective immediately, yet it is not retroactive and doesn't affect those already holding Indigenous-specific positions or are in the middle of applying. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
The Council of Yukon First Nations, or CYFN, is launching a new initiative. It's an Indigenous-led midwifery, sexual and reproductive health project. It's part of the Moccasin Mobile Outreach Program. Outreach staff drive around downtown Whitehorse 7 nights per week. Now, 1 night a month, a birth worker will ride along with them. Last spring, CYFN won the Arctic Inspiration Prize to expand reproductive health care. Part of that money is going towards this outreach service.
We want to be a responsive service, and we know that there are some people who require prenatal and postnatal and pregnancy support in the downtown core. So we have been able to respond to that need. And so last week was the first trial run, and we're really happy to start building that rapport.
Moccasin Mobile also received national accolades recently. CYFN accepted a harm reduction award at a recent summit in Quebec. Chambers says the van counts about 60 interactions every single night. We told you about the soup kitchen in Taloyawak, Nunavut yesterday. Work to retrofit the space finished a little more than a year ago, and the soup kitchen only recently became operational. It was open for 2 days during a recent cold spell, but the hamlet doesn't have money to run it regularly. The MLA for Taloyawak and Kugaruk says she'd like to see capital investments like the one that created the space followed up with operational investments. But she also hopes for a day when the soup kitchen isn't needed in her community in the first place.
I think it is something that we've needed in our community for quite some time. And I think having it run locally here with individuals that have gone through the culinary arts program in Cambridge Bay is really exciting to see. But also within that same stream, as a community member and as an MLA, we always want to see our communities thriving, where a soup kitchen wouldn't be something that a majority of our community members need. It's great that it's being utilized today, but I hope for a future where we're able to alleviate some of that strain on our families and ensure that we're a population that is more food secure.
Taloyawak's SAO says the hamlet hasn't reached any long-term funding commitments to run the soup kitchen regularly. He says the hamlet is in touch with the government of Nunavut, the Kitikmeot Inuit Association, and other funders to try and change that. Operation Nanook Nunalivut continues across the Canadian Arctic. The military exercise in it is intended to train different elements of the Canadian Armed Forces and allies to operate in the Arctic environment. A key part of that training is medical readiness. Major Stephanie Smith is the task force surgeon overseeing care during the operation and leading medical drills. We spoke to her in Cambridge Bay about preparing for medical emergencies and how they can support the local community.
So We have the medical kit, consumables and equipment to set up in a tent, in a hard shack, a SEV we often call it, or in a building if we have the capability and the option available in the community. So we have what we call our UMS, our ability to provide basic medical care, but additionally here at this facility we've set up our damage control resuscitation capability. So that means that we can provide blood products if needed, we can do ultrasounding of our patients to look for any trauma injuries, we can put chest tubes in, we can do stabilization of fractures, and even have a lab capability that's here. So our goal is that we can do our best to alleviate the civilian center so that we can provide the most medical care at this facility. At every site we are doing simulations, so we always do our tabletop exercises and discuss how we would manage things, and then once we work through that we practice it out. So every single step has been practiced in the sense that we need to know an injury might occur and that patient is transferred in an aircraft. We need to know we can safely get on and off the aircraft, so we did loading and unloading drills with our Chinook. Our 2 forward air evac medics were providing that training. Additionally, then we ensured that the vehicle that would be utilized to take the patient from the aircraft could fit a stretcher safely, because we don't want to have to use the local ambulance if we don't need to. So we've done simulations here on site to get through the doors, make sure we comfortably can use all the equipment. All of those things are essential because we take for granted the challenges when you're in a new environment if we don't do the practice run-throughs. We've also done a mass casualty simulation plan where we activated the team to have people that would be able to assist in moving casualties. We talked about where people would return to. We had the process discussed about where triage would occur. We set up our areas for where the patients would be, and we did a mock sim to demonstrate how we could do our surge capability to manage multiple patients at the same time. I think our biggest opportunity here is that we would like, when we're in the local area, to be able to give back to the community. We know that there are some reasons we would need to use their resources, so we look at what we could do. Our hope in the future is to get licenses for the clinicians so that we can not only provide care here, but our clinical staff could augment and support the local facility. So right now that's a learning opportunity for us to figure out how to navigate that quickly, because often we don't know who's going to go on the deployment or the operation early. So figuring out streamlined processes, in which we're doing now, collaborating with the local provincial licensing bodies and ensuring that we can set that up for success in the future. Certainly our biggest challenges would be with resupply. If you don't plan effectively and have all the right things you need, that can be a challenge. But additionally, you don't always know the types of injuries that are going to happen. And so sometimes you might not have thought about bringing something in particular. So we're kind of working through that and identifying what we could do to alleviate requiring anything in the local community. And that could be something as simple as having crutches so that the local pharmacy or hospital doesn't need to provide. So I think this has been an excellent validation exercise to identify those gaps, figure out processes that are easier to get a resupply, and then look at that at big picture, because we know the numbers would be significantly increased and sustainment for a long-term operation would be a challenge until we develop those processes. So we as a medical team have offered whatever would help in this community we are willing to try to do, but in particular we were hoping to offer CPR training. If there was a choking infant, how could you navigate that and offer that in the areas in the community that might be more likely to be exposed to this, and just give back to the community and also learn from the elders. What is your approach in the community to get people engaged and learn about primary basic medical interventions to help set up people for success in the community, if that's a resource or a skill that they would like. Additionally, we plan to do some events with the elders and learn from specifically the elder women in this community on what types of things are done when it comes to healing, but also in general at that collaboration and building community and building confidence in the health system it's here as well. We also want to be aware of the ways that individuals in this community would want us to be interacting within and not be seen as taking, but more giving and collaborating with. So I think more to come in the coming weeks when our operation won't be as heavy, where we'll have the opportunity to get out with the community and work with them to prepare for the future so that it is very much seen as an enhancement in the community and that we are building and bringing versus taking from the community.
The Arctic Winter Games will begin March 8th in Whitehorse. The event will bring over 2,000 athletes from across the circumpolar region to the city to compete in 20 different sports. As Chris McIntyre reports, some Team Yukon athletes from one rural community are ready to make the territory proud.
There's something about the Arctic Winter Games that gets people excited. Maybe it's the fierce but friendly competition when it comes to the Dene Games or hockey, or maybe it's the trading of the pins and uniforms between athletes once the games have wrapped up. In any case, those representing Team Yukon this year are ready for it all. 13-year-old Talia Ewing is from Dawson City. She'll be playing hockey for Team Yukon. She says she's been skating since she was 2 and slapping pucks since she was 5. Ewing says she learned she made the team in November of last year.
It was a pretty cool feeling because there's a lot of older girls trying out because it's a U19 team. So there's people that are from 12 years old and then up to 18, 19.
Wow.
So it was like, it felt pretty good to make it when there's a lot of older kids.
Ewing says there's another reason why being on the team is special for her. She says being from a community outside of Whitehorse sometimes has a disadvantage when it comes to sports, especially when it comes to training with the rest of the team.
It's definitely a lot harder because you have to make it their lots and then it costs a lot for your parents and then you have to really put in effort and you have to train a lot here and there's not much here to train for. And there's it's not really fair because it gives the people in Whitehorse a lot more time to practice and more time to work together as a team.
There are 287 athletes representing the Yukon this year. Mason Jordan is also from Dawson. He'll be playing futsal for Team Yukon. Jordan says for the last games, he drove to Whitehorse every weekend to train. Now, the 16-year-old has rented a dorm in Whitehorse so that he can be close to the team and training facilities. He says now that the games are just days away, the excitement and butterflies are starting to kick in.
Pretty confident. I think we have a solid team and stuff. Just training really hard every day, each and every one of us. I'll try my best. Our team will try our best, and we'll win this gold for you guys.
The team chef de mission says this year most of the athletes are from Whitehorse. The rest are from communities like Watson Lake, Carmacks, Burwash Landing, and of course, Dawson City. Chris McIntyre, CBC News, Dawson City.
Back-to-back wins and another big payday for Team 99 at Cain's Quest. The Labrador event is billed as the world's toughest snowmobile race. Teams traversed over 3,000 kilometers of frozen wilderness, and Team 99 finished first again to claim their second $100,000 prize. CBC's Layla Baudouin was there.
Crossing that finish line in first place for a second time, father and son duo Randy and Sebastian Malik of Sheshi.
You did it again.
You did it again, Sebastian. How do you feel?
Feel amazing, huh? Back to back.
And you did it with Dad.
Yeah, twice.
The Sega boys have earned rock star status in snowmobile circles, winning the grueling race around Labrador not once, but twice. The Maliks won gold in 2024, but crossing that line never gets old.
Having him side by side, what's that like for you and Sebastian?
Awesome. Awesome like that. Always be side by side with me.
Not far behind, coming in second place, Joshua Rose and Mike Elliott of Goose Bay.
Second place in Cain's Quest, no big deal.
No, it's not. It's just a skidoo ride.
Just a skidoo ride. I know there's a lot of people who support you guys to get through that. How does it mean to you to have people caring like we've seen this week?
Oh, it's top notch. We wouldn't be able to do a race without them.
How did you do it?
The machines managed to cooperate with us. We managed to keep them together pretty good. All of our guys out in the field were spot on. Couldn't ask for a better support crew.
It was the most nerve-wracking week, but I knew deep down that he was going to be okay.
Rose's mom and sister say he was riding in his father's footsteps.
I know his dad was with him the whole way.
Rose's dad passed away, but taught him everything he knew about riding a sled.
I knew the day would come that, that Joshua would do this, and I know his dad was with him. I know it.
With an unmatchable perseverance, these racers have completed the quest. But like many Labradorians and sled lovers, they'll be back here to face the untamed wilderness in 2 years. Leila Baudouin, CBC News, Labrador West.
With the growing impact of global warming and habitat loss, there are more whales getting caught in commercial fishing gear. The CBC's Tanya Fletcher has more on that story.
Crews cut free a humpback whale caught up in fishing gear off California, the type of rescue that's becoming more common up and down the West Coast. And now research reveals warming ocean water may be increasing that risk. The rise of whale entanglements is directly tied to the temperature of humpback habitats. That's the upshot of a new study from the U.S.-based National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
I think this is a key unexpected surprise that climate change is throwing at us.
Experts say the cold water pockets that are ideal for humpbacks to thrive are shrinking, with more frequent marine heat waves forcing the whales closer to shore.
So that warmer water is really compressing the areas where these whales can actually go to find food.
The findings are echoed in British Columbian waters, too.
We do have the same issues here. They're getting caught in the ropes that are used to attach to crab pots. They're getting caught in gill nets.
Before 2014, yearly stats showed fewer than 10 entanglements off the U.S. West Coast. But in 2024, that number spiked to 31 whales. And on average, 3/4 of them don't survive.
Humpbacks, unfortunately, when they get caught in something, they have a tendency to roll in it, and they can wrap them up so tight, and they have an inability to get out of it.
They say the good news is new technology that predicts the likelihood of these encounters based on oceanic forecasts, and that can guide decision making on when and where to close off areas to fishing if there's a higher risk.
One of the exciting parts now is that there are new innovations, for example, ropeless fishing gear that are being used now in these closures. So fishermen are now going back in to these areas that are closed with fishing gear that does not pose the entanglement risk.
And that, he says, will ultimately calm the waters for coexistence between whales and humans. Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Vancouver.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Robert Holden. Have a great weekend.